My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. Maya Angelou. There are many times in life that you think you're on the right path. You have the right job, the right significant other, the right car, the right house. You think that it can't get any better than that moment, until life throws a curveball your direction. You suddenly find yourself questioning the future you planned when everything was going right. Will the right person be the right person for you always? Will that right job be the one that leads you to success? Sometimes the overwhelming idea of what the right is can overwhelm you. Well, for my best friend Kaylin, it did. Did you know that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States? How can the 10th leading cause of death be something so tangible, so controllable? Today I'm going to talk to you about some statistics of suicide, as well as share a personal story about how suicide has affected me firsthand, and lastly, how you can take a role in helping to prevent suicide. As I stated, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. When I think about deaths, I think about accidents and sickness, or gun violence and gangs. I don't immediately think about suicide. Each year, over 44,000 Americans die from suicide. Ages 15 to 24, the ratio is 200 to 1. As age increases, that ratio becomes 4 to 1. Under the age of 34, it's ranked the second cause of death, with unintentional injury being number 1. 40% of people who have committed suicide have already attempted it. That's crazy, right? Now that I've given you some statistics, let me share with you how those statistics became a reality. My best friend Kaylin, I met through Starbucks, was someone that I saw in my life for a very long time. She was so bubbly, so energetic, she just made me feel so alive all the time whenever I was around her. And one day she became very sick actually. She had a couple different autoimmune disease orders. She had arthritis and then was diagnosed with a certain type of cancer behind her eye. And I feel like being so young and having to deal with all of that, you lose hope at times. And you feel like, what's the point of moving on? And while to those who aren't sick around her, we could tell her all we want, that, we loved her and we were there for her, but we didn't live her life. And days led into weeks, and those weeks just kept getting sadder and sadder for her, and it was nothing that we could pull from her. But as time continued to move on, she became more distant. And that distance became a phone call one day from her aunt. And her aunt told me that she was in a coma because she overdosed. And at that point, I just felt so numb because I allowed the distance to happen. And to me, it felt so personal, so real, so raw. And I was so numb at the same time as hurt. And to us, not to us, but to some people it may seem selfish, the idea of suicide. But to a lot of people, it's hard to think that way, because for me personally, I couldn't look at it as being selfish, because she thought in her mind she was doing what she was supposed to. And it hurts me to know that that's how she felt. And since then, I've become an advocate for myself and for those around me to make a difference in people's life and to be more empathetic and to be more understanding. And now that you've heard a little bit about how suicide has affected me, and just I'm one person, here's a couple things that you can do to turn it in a positive light for some. Have you ever heard of Breast Cancer Walk, or like the Walk for Breast Cancer? Did you know that they do one for National Prevention of Suicide? They do something called Paint for Prevention. And it's like the paint and wine night, where you grab a friend and you go paint and you have fun. That's what it's like for them. It's a place for those who suffer from the loss, or from those who who are challenged daily with the thoughts, and for those who just want to know more, to have a meeting place, but to have a fun environment and to not feel so negative. It's a place that people can volunteer and serve at these events, and to feel a part of it, to feel like they're making a difference, but not to feel, but to actually make a difference. You can look for signs in loved ones who might be struggling. That's a way to make a difference as well. But you are so fortunate enough to have the gift of life to make that difference. So as I end my speech, I hope that I've been able to touch at least one person. I hope that from this speech, one person chooses to do something about suicide, because if that one person can do something, they can touch somebody who can touch someone. And it turns into a domino effect of touching people's lives. Thank you.